Which of the following sets does not represent a function? So when we're talking about a function, you want to look specifically at all of the x values. As long as your x values do not repeat, that is going to be a function. So if you look at f, none of my x values repeat, that's a function. Look at g, look at just the x values, none of the x values repeat, that's a function. Look at h, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, that's a function because none of the x values were repeated. -1, 1, 1. Look right there. Notice how we repeat that x value. So that is not a function. So J. Question 2, which of the following does not, another does not question, does not describe the graph of the parent function of a quadratic equation? Y equals x squared. Memorize it. Let's graph it. Y equals x squared. So we're going to graph y equals x squared. And let's look. The graph has a vertex at the origin. That's true. We're looking for something that's false. The graph is a parabola that opens upward. That's true. The graph has the x-axis as its line of symmetry. No, that is not true. The graph has a minimum value at 0, 0. That's the origin. So we know the answer is C. In fact, the graph has the y-axis as the line of symmetry. So C is false. Question 3, what is the equation of the line that passes through the points? So they gave us 2 points. So we're just going to, you could either stat edit, put those points in there, or go stat edit and then stat calc. And that's a quick way to generate the line given 2 points. So we're going to put these points in stat edit. So L1, that is going to be your x values. And L2, that's where we're going to input our y values. So after we do stat edit, we're going to go stat calc. We want it to calculate something. And then look for something familiar. Look at number 4. On number 4, you see ax plus b. That is just calculator language for what we know as mx plus b. They use the letter a for the slope. We use the letter m for the slope. So we're going to scroll down, go all the way down to calculate, hit enter. And it's going to give us 2 values. So we want to convert both of those values to fractions. So we're going to take -0.875 and we're going to do math frac enter. And it's going to give us our fraction for the a or the m. So this is our slope, -7/8. That's the number in front of x. And you can go ahead and cross off h and j. Now we're going to go back to stat and go under calc number 4. Let's look for the y-intercept. The y-intercept was -2.5. And if you're not sure how to do -2.5 as a fraction, you can do math frac enter. And it's -5/2, so you'll see the answer is F. Now you could have graphed each one of those and then gone to the table as well. Equations of 2 lines are, they give us 2 equations. One of them is already in y equals, the other one is not. So we need to take -6x plus y equals -4, put it in y equals so we can graph it. So take the -6x term, and when you move it to the other side, it's going to be +6x. The -4 is still -4 because it didn't go anywhere. Now we're ready to go in and graph these 2 equations, and we're just going to simply look and see where they cross each other. So we put them in y equals. I'm zoomed out, you can see that, but chances are you're going to be in a standard window and you're going to see something that looks like this. And you can't see the intersection. So hit zoom, go to number 3, hit enter, it'll zoom out, you can see where they intersect. And then we're going to use the second calc, intersect. So second, hit the calc, number 5, get the cursor close to the intersection and you're just going to go enter, 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 and it's going to tell us the value of x. The value of x is +3. All right, the last question, number 5. How does the graph of y equals -3/4 x squared, how does that differ from the graph of y equals 4/3 x squared? Well, let's graph them both. We're going to put the first graph in y1, the second graph we're going to put in y2, and we're actually going to scroll all the way to the left of the second one, and we're going to hit enter on that line, and it's going to bold it. And that's going to tell me that that's the graph of the second one. So there's the first one. Here's the second graph. We're going to zoom back to a standard window. So zoom, standard, number 6. So here's the first one. Here comes the second one. Let's look at the answer choices. The graph of y equals -3/4 x squared. So the graph of the first one opens downward. Is that true? Yes. And is it wider? Does it look wider than the second one or the bolder one that we have? It looks wider. Yes, it does. So I'm going to put a little question mark there. Let's look at G. Does the first one open upward? No. It doesn't open upward at all. Open downward, but is the first one narrower or is it wider? Well, the first one is wider, so our answer is F.